good evening, everyone, and welcome again to our IHR Buddy Live. And tonight or today is another interesting topic. But before that, I just want to let everyone know that if you have any questions or anything that you want to suggest and recommend, just send it over on our comment section and we'll be gladly um, read it and shout it out, even it's just a greeting, or you wanted us to invite you on something, or you wanted to learn and recommend some topics that we can discuss. Okay, so again, hello everyone. If you have anything, just if you have any friends whom you want to uh, join right now, um, just send over the link for the group and have them join here at our virtual assistant group. Okay, so while we gather viewers, I just want to say that again, our live is scheduled on a Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. EST time and 10 p.m. Manila time. So for those of you who's working on graveyard shift, this is your chance to stay awake and learn from us. And for those of you who just want to watch, well, this is just a very short live and it won't take much of your time. Okay, so we've been discussing a lot of things about virtual assistant, digital marketing, social media. Tonight, or I say, yeah, tonight is actually a topic that's really interesting. This is related also with how you manage your social media, how you actually market yourself or the brand online. But since I mentioned brand, this is all about branding. So, for example, you want to start a new product that you want to launch, or you have clients who's launching a new product or a new brand. How do you do your branding from scratch? Like, you don't have anything and you just have an idea of what kind of business, what kind of brand you want to establish, and what kinds of products you wanted to sell. And it's like, it's your first time to be an entrepreneur or to be a business person, and you don't have any idea like where do you want to start or where should you start, as someone who kickstarted a small business or a brand. Remember, anything that you do, even if it's a business, a small business, a big business, a product, a service, it's called a brand. So how do you brand yourself? How do you build your own brand? So with me, to discuss this interesting topic is Miss Anne Magbanwa, our social media manager here at iChar Buddy. Hi, Anne.
Hi everyone. Good morning or good evening.
Okay, so here at iChar Buddy, one of the things that we do is help our clients do their branding. And when we say branding, this includes the whole look of your product, the whole look of your company, the whole look of your brand and how it's represented online. Remember, it's not just how the brand looks like physically, but since online nowadays is something that we all use to sell, it should also reflect on how aesthetically we show online the products, right? So to kickstart it, i- h- like how do you start building a brand? Well, building a brand from the ground up that stands out is not an easy task. To understand how it should look like, what it should look like, how should it make people feel, um, will it resonate to your target audience? These are the questions that you need to consider. And when you start to think about it, you need to connect the dots between what you're selling and who you're trying to reach. Remember, what you're selling and who you're trying to reach. This is the connection that you need to build in between. And that's where the brand building happens. Okay, whether you got nothing but a business idea or maybe just a physical brand or a service, again, you should know how to build a strong brand identity for your business. Now, what first, before we move forward to the steps that we wanted to share with you, let's first understand what is what exactly is a brand, right? We always kept mentioning brand, product, services are all brands, but what is a brand? Basically, a brand is just a name and a logo that distinguishes you in the crowded market. So it's something that you see with a logo. That's how simple it is, right? And logo is actually part of the steps, when it comes to branding. So your brand is actually how people perceive you wherever you are interacting, whether it's in your business, or and it's both the impressions you can control and the ones you can. So when you come to think about it, even us people, we have personal brands. Like me as a digital marketer, as a musician, and as a social media manager, we all have a name, a face, a style, a way of communicating. We have traits, we make different impressions on different people, and that is branding. That's actually unconsciously how we brand ourselves. And same with businesses, businesses have names, they have products, they have logos, they have colors, fonts, voices, reputations, and this is what's made up of a brand. This is how it actually affects and how they perceive it, or rather, let's say, what they are and affect how they perceived. So you can't build a brand, without being consistent, and you have to build this consistency, especially now that we're really marketing ourselves online. Building the brand online is one of the most important factors nowadays. As you extend your brand to every part of your business, it should all start in establishing the consistency of how it's going to look like, how the tonality it should be out online, and the feeling that you want to evoke on each audience. So it's important that we're aware of the things that I mentioned before we move over the steps, because if we don't understand the whole concept of branding, then we won't be able to understand why we are doing the steps on how to build a brand. So let's start. So building a brand, the first thing, or let's say this is not in order, but let's say this is something that you can do to organize how you build your brand. So first is research your target audience and your competitors. Now, when you build your brand, you have before you make a decision on what your brand should look like, you have to understand your market. I mean, how can you sell something if you don't know who the people who's gonna buy it, right? Who's your potential customers? So you should know what characteristic your potential customers has. Now, second, you have to know what your competitors are doing, because it's not because you're copying from them, but because you are learning from them. Competitors are not there to be like your enemy, they're your friends, because from them you can learn a lot of things, and you can do some things that will define you or distinguish you from them, because they're already doing it, and it gives you an idea of what else that they're not doing. So um understanding the current market and your competitors, there's a lot of ways to do it. uh, One of those things are Google your product or service category, analyze the direct and indirect competitors that come up. So when you type in Google, for example, you say your business is a water refilling station, let's say in Makati. So you just type in Google, and I'm sure that your competitors have Google My Business, and their names would come out. So from there, you'd see, oh, these are my competitors. And if they have a website, then might as well, you should have your website too, because these companies or these water refilling station have websites. So it's something maybe that you should do. Next is check socials, subreddits, um Facebook groups, Instagram. Eavesdrop. If there's an eavesdropping, on people, there's also eavesdropping on brand. You have to listen. You have to see where they are placed, because that's also most probably and most likely the places where you should be found, or you should be heard, or you should be talked about. So if you're a water refilling station, then probably on subreddit or Quora, you'd be in a forum where the safest water refilling station in Makati, something to like that. So you have to be there. Your presence should be there too. Next, you have to talk to people who are part of your target market. Do a survey. Your surveys are really important, because there you'd learn the offline and online behavior of people. You know where to find them, you know who your target audience is, and you look at the relevant social media. Look at them on Instagram, Facebook. Like, are these the people who would browse stories and would just ignore it, or browse stories and would read on it? And then, this is not last, but maybe a few that last of the few that we're going to mention under studying your target audience and competitor is go shopping online and offline. Try to feel that you're the customer. Try to feel the customer purchase journey that your audience would feel. So do it on yourself first. If you are a customer looking for a water to buy in a water refilling station, what would you do? Where would you look at? What kinds of qualifications and criteria would you consider for you to be a loyal customer? Okay, so take note, we're just at number one, which is research your target audience and your competitors, and there's a lot already. So number two, Anne.
So for the second one, this is actually linking to what Miss Karen has talked about, which is to pick your focus and personality. So your brand can't be everything to everyone, especially at the start. So it's important to find your focus and let that inform all the other parts of your brand as you build it. So first things first is you have to ask yourself, what is your positioning statement? So what does positioning statement mean? First is one or two lines that stake your claim in the market. So this is an example would be we offer water bottles for hikers to stay hydrated while reducing their carbon footprint. Unlike other water bottles, we plant a tree for every bottle you buy. So that's your positioning statement. So it isn't necessarily something you put on your website or business card. It's just to help you answer the right questions about your brand and aids in creating your brand tagline. So a simple thing would put this as who are you straightforward. So your unique value proposition is the one thing you're competing on. Find it, go on it, and make it a part of your brand's messaging. And the second one you
Yeah,
would
that's
ask yourself is what words would you associate with your brand? So, one way to look at brand building is to imagine your brand as a person. What would he or she be like? How would you describe them or what personality would your customers be attracted to? This is where you may have seen it to homemade products of soaps and such. Uh, they can call themselves eco-friendly, organic, things like that. So that's the question. Second question you would ask yourself is what is the character you would associate your brand with? And last thing you would ask yourself is what metaphors or concepts describe your brand? So, thinking about your brand as a metaphor or personifying it can help you identify the individual qualities you want it to have. So, this can be a vehicle, an animal, a celebrity, a sports team, anything, as long as it has prominent reputation in your mind that summons the sort of vibe you want your brand to give it off. So, for example, if I wanted to create a brand targeting entrepreneur, I might choose to use the raccoon as a starting point. There's survivors who would do anything to thrive. So, if your brand was an animal, what animal would it be and why is it like that? So, that's a metaphor. That's an example of a metaphor you would use.
okay. Thanks, Anne. So that's just number two. So you see, in branding, there's a lot to talk about. So third, okay. So we've tackled already discovering your target audience, your competitors, and Anne talked about USPs, metaphors, concepts that can best compare to your brand, positioning statement. The third one is actually the simplest, but I think I find the most difficult. Um, Choose your business name. Now, why I say it's difficult? I mean, you can just name your business or your brand anything that you want, but remember, sometimes the success of the business depends on the name. I mean, uh, you'll ask sometimes, "And what's in the name?" Well, depending on the kind of business you want to start, you can make the case that your name matters very little or it matters a lot. We've mentioned before, a brand is much more than a name, but the name defines the personality, the actions and reputations of your brand, and the name would give a whole lot of meaning to it in the market. A small business owner, your company's name is probably one of the first big commitments you have to make. Once you assign the name of your brand or your company, that's it. You have to create a logo to it, your domain, your marketing. So imagine big, or imagine, uh, let's say, imagine the future when you start a business. Why do I say imagine the future? Because you have to imagine the things that you're going to do with that brand name. Is it appropriate? Will it stand strong with your branding, with your business name? would you like to use it in everything from your domain, marketing, trade registration, socials? So make sure that you are committed to what name you're giving your brand. You want to have, ideally, you want to have a name that's hard to imitate, hard to confuse people. When you mention that name, people would exactly think, oh, okay, this is about this. On the other hand, sometimes the uniqueness of the name makes it really more interesting. Like you name something, but in reality, it's not what the name is. It's not what the business is. So it depends. It's up to you where it's more interesting. As long as in the long run you're committed to the name. There's a lot of there are tools actually that you can use in building a brand name. You can use a business name generator. For the most business people, this is the one that they use. And then of course, you can make up a word, put up names together. It can be a description of the product, or alter words by removing consonants or vowels. Or create acronyms. Acronyms are the most popular ones. Like you have a long name and you make it shorter. So branding, setting a name for your business, it's a very challenging thing, but when you start it, that's where everything will move forward. Number 4, ad.
So for the fourth one is a oh sorry, is a catchy slogan. So a slogan is nice to have asset, something brief and descriptive that you can use as a tagline in your social media bios, website header, custom business cards, and anywhere else where you've got a very few words to make a big impact. So an example would be everyone's know about this, which is for Snickers, the candy bar. Their slogan is "You're not you when you're hungry," but keep in mind that you can always change your slogans as long as you find new angles for marketing. Um, an example of this is Pepsi, who has gone through over 30 slogans in the past few decades. And you would also like to keep in mind that in creating your slogan, it has to be short, catchy, yet it makes a strong impression. So here are some ways to approach writing a slogan of your own. First is to stake your claim, make it a metaphor, adopt your customer's attitude, leverage labels, write a rhyme, or describe it literally. And that's for the fourth one.
Okay. So, yeah. For the fifth one, choose the look of your brand. So as mentioned a while ago, um, it's very important how you want your brand to be represented online, visually, aesthetically. So I say that the colors, the font, these are all important. This is where you'll base everything from the posting of your social, the decks that you do, the the logos that you're gonna do. If you have the font, if you have the colors, you can use it from all the social posts that you do, collaterals, posters, and everything. It does not only define the look of your brand. It defines the look of your brand, but besides that, it also conveys the feeling of how you want to communicate and help you make it consistent across everything you do. You want to choose colors that really would differentiate you from direct competitors. You don't want to imitate. Well, of course, you can't afford, because how many colors do we have, right? But at least you can mix and match, adjust the hues, saturation, and things. So you can come up with a different hue. In HR Buddy, whenever we do branding for clients, we always give them options on the color palette and the font. So we give them not just one color, but for example, we give them the color of blue, but we give them a different hues of blue. So there's from the lightest to the darkest. And for the fonts, we give them from the boldest to the thinnest. So, in one kind of color or in one kind of font, there's a lot to dissect. So explore on that so that you'd stand unique, or you stand amongst the others or your competitors. Number 6, Anne.
So for the sixth one is to design your logo. So a company logo design is probably one of the first things that come to mind when you think about building a brand. And for good reason, it's the face of your company after all and could potentially be everywhere that your brand exists. But sometimes it could be hard, just the same as thinking of your brand name. But initially when you think of your brand first. Designing logo really comes first in mind. Then comes the thinking of the brand name. So ideally, you'll want a logo that's unique, identifiable, and scalable to work at all sizes. Sizes is something often overlooked, so it's also important to keep that in mind. And when you are designing your logo, you should consider all the places where your brand's logo needs to exist, from your website to your Facebook page's profile picture to even the little favicons you see in your current browser tab. So if you have a text logo as your Instagram avatar, for example, it'll almost be impossible to read. So to make your life easier, you should create a square version of your logo with an icon element that remains recognizable even at smaller sizes. An example of this would be
Okay.
the Walmart logo.
Okay, that's great, Anne. And last, now we've come to the seventh one, which is the last one. There's a lot, but we're just gonna give you seven of the most important ones. Apply your branding across your business. So, applying your brand across business gives it a cohesive brand story, and a story is very important when you build a brand. A brand story represents who your business is and what it stands for. It sets the stage for every interaction, for all your customers to have with your brand in store and online. So we found actually, in Shopify research that buyers shopping online store for the first time often look for a business mission and purpose to see if they really share any values. Because of course, if I'm gonna buy, let's say, apparel, even though I'm just gonna buy an apparel, but I would want to look like the vision of this apparel. Like, will this apparel does it for some people who are what do you say, very economical or conscious about the environment. Let's say, for example, a car. If I believe in clean nature, clean environment, then I would go for a electric car, right? So only means that we share the same mission, we share the same vision. That's why I'm interested. So applying your brand across your business means you have to adapt and apply what your vision is for the brand. That's why in the simplest term, on websites you have the about us. The about us consists of mission, vision, what else, and mission, vision, bio, right?
Yeah.
Because you want people to learn more about who they're buying from, and more socially conscious customers, how the business runs. So if I see that you're this business, that you have the same vision like I do, you have the same goals like I do, a clean environment, and something that's because I'm a nature lover and stuff like that, then I would definitely be a loyal customer and patronize the brand. So the story itself on what the brand is about helps you set the customer's interest. And the brand story actually helps you get the your targeted audience. So for me, it really is important that you don't just push your products online, but you also set a story to let your customers know why you exist. um there's a few questions that's really important when we say we're setting a brand across platforms. Number one is, what motivated you to start the business? Why do you exist? How do you contribute to the world? And lastly, what is the story behind the business? Why did you want to start this kind of business? So things like that means a lot to customers, because the story behind whys is something that they will soon like and admire from your end. So I guess this has been really a fruitful discussion about branding, and I do hope that you learn that. We have one question here. Branding po ba yung sa virtual assistants? Well, I honestly don't understand what you meant by that, but if you're trying to ask us if branding yung virtual assistant, yeah, I mean, us virtual assistant is setting up a brand out there, so our clients would get us based on how we want to represent ourselves. Like, for example, I'm a digital marketer, so as a virtual assistant who does digital marketing, I want to set up my brand as a digital marketer. So when clients wants to look for digital marketing specialist or manager, for example, I'm not working here and clients are looking for someone like me, then I will of course, build my page. Of course I'm going to use my name, but I have to use like a title digital marketing specialist and set up my pages and my content talking about digital marketing. So people or clients, when they look at me and they found me, they would see that I'm the right person because what I talk about, what I'm working on or interested on is something that what they're looking for. And that's my branding. So same with Ange. She's a social media manager. So she portrays herself on social media, which means she needs to be posting daily also, showing that she's doing the best practices on her own platforms, so that when clients try to research for her and see know what kind of VA Anne is, they would clearly understand that Anne is a social media manager. So anything that you wanted to represent online or show online is branding. Even a person, like we mentioned a while ago, you yourself is a brand. Okay? I hope that answers your question. So, again, thank you so much, Anne. Thank you for joining.
Thank you as well, Miss Karen, for having me again.
Yes, and we'll see you soon again. Thanks.
Bye bye.
There you go. And thank you so much for watching. For those of you who still here and watching, thank you for staying. I hope we have given you something to ponder and to let's say treasure about when it comes to branding. So anytime you want to start your business, you already have an idea on where and how you'll start it. Okay? Thank you once again and bye.